Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Welcome to The Takeout. Just because it was expected does not make it any less unusual. The Trump Justice Department indicted John Bolton today over alleged misdeeds that could have, in part or in full, been prosecuted during the first Trump term. The charges, as so far as we know them, relate to classified documents in Bolton's possession, part of a book he wrote, and an AOL email account. Yes, an AOL email account. They're still around, though they're not nearly the rage they once were. Bolton will, of course, get his day in court. He joins other perceived enemies of President Trump in federal legal jeopardy. Former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. The White House yesterday, President Trump, with top justice officials standing nearby, said this about other potential charges against others in the political universe, namely California Democratic Senator Adam Schiff.
They have committed massive political crime. I hope they're looking at Shifty Schiff. I hope they're looking at all these people. And I'm allowed to find out. I'm allowed to, I'm, in theory, the chief law enforcement officer. But I have a very good, talented group.
That is a novel theory. President as chief law enforcement officer. Historically, that has been the Attorney General. But if the Attorney General acts entirely at the direction of the president, then in a linear, though not necessarily constitutional fashion, that would make this president the nation's de facto chief law enforcement officer. Trump directed the indictments of Comey and James, so some dispassionate observers might describe something of a pattern here. For more on the Bolton indictment, and we have just received the paperwork on it, so this is a complex story that is evolving before our very eyes. We turn to Nicole Sganga. As I understand it, Nicole, 18 counts.
18 counts in total, Major. The 26-page indictment was initially sealed. It's just been unsealed. The U.S. grand jury in Maryland indicted former National Security Advisor John Bolton on criminal charges relating to the transmission of national defense information and the retention of national defense information. Now, reading through these counts, I was able to count 16 of them relate to Bolton's handling of top secret information, the highest classification given by the U.S. government. And just looking over the documents, now I can read some to our audience. On or about August 22nd, the FBI executed search warrants. They seized material from Bolton's residence in Maryland and office in Washington, D.C. Of course, we knew about that FBI search. And here, if you continue to read, you can see the FBI seized hard-copied printed versions of Bolton's diary entries, including documents that relate to the national defense and contained classified information. They're described below in some of these counts here. So we're still reading over some of the specifics. Some of them have to do with a personal email account. Some of them have to do with classified information that was exchanged between Bolton and some of his advisors.
Would have been within his time of government service.
Within his time of government service. He was national security officer, as you know, for about 17, 18 months under the Trump administration in the first term before they parted ways.
There was sound from the president on this topic. He was asked about what he knew or did not know about the pending possibility of a Bolton indictment. Let's listen.
I didn't know that. You tell me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but it's the way it goes.
What else have we been able to glean so far, Nicole?
So far, we have learned 18 counts, Major. Again, all of them related to the transmission of national defense information and the retention of national defense information. We also learned that a representative for Bolton contacted the FBI back in 2021 to alert the FBI that they believe that Bolton's representative to be the Islamic Republic of Iran had obtained unauthorized access to one of Bolton's personal email accounts. So we are learning new information about how the FBI might have first learned about a possible compromise to Bolton's personal email account. Some concern here, Major, although we're still reading through these documents, of exposure potentially to a foreign adversary, including Iran.
As I mentioned, this paperwork has just come in our possession. Nicole is reading it now. Nicole, I'm going to give you a moment or two to keep reading, as you are so capable of doing, and then referring new information to us. I'm going to turn to the wall over here. We call this affectionately wall number one. Scott Fredericksen will join me now, former federal prosecutor. So where are we? There you are. You're on wall one now. Scott, again, I want to remind our audience, I'm going to keep saying this throughout the program. This has just happened. We are just going through the indictment. Taking that on board, what are your initial observations?
Well, the fact of the indictment is no surprise. We all knew this was coming. It all depends on the details and the facts. There are thousands of instances of classified documents that end up in former government officials' hands, if you will, or at their homes, and they're never charged. The difference is, what's the level of classification? If they are top secret, that's the highest level. That's very serious. What proof of intentionality is there that Mr. Bolton intentionally, knowingly mishandled this information? What we know leading up to the indictment is that the government seemed to be focusing on three buckets. One was stemming back to his original time during Mr. Trump's first term as president. Mr. Bolton wrote a book, and there was a large dispute with the Trump administration of whether he was using classified information. A criminal investigation was begun, but kind of petered out. There was a civil lawsuit, and that was resolved. The second bucket is documents that were seized at Mr. Bolton's Bethesda, Maryland home. That's why the indictment's in Maryland, and at his office in Washington, D.C. Were there top secret documents there that he had in his possession? We don't know if that's the subject of the indictment. And the third part is interesting. Apparently, Mr. Bolton was using an AOL email account and apparently or allegedly had information, classified information on that account that was hacked and intercepted by a foreign adversary. We don't know if that's part of the indictment yet.
You mentioned the key word, which I've heard communicated many times in this general sphere of prosecution: intentionality. What did you know, and what did you willfully defy in terms of your handling of classified information? Walk my audience through how important that is.
That's critical because the criminal statute requires intentionality. This is not a statute, a criminal statute that is used for indicting people who mistakenly hold on to documents when they had no intention of doing so. Or when they have them, they alert the government and say, hey, I've got this, I'm going to bring them back. This statute is not for those situations. It's when an individual knowingly, intentionally takes a document or retains a document knowing he has no business to them, or when the government alerts them and says, we want them back. And that was the case with former President Trump in his first term, allegedly, and he refused. So intentionality is required here, and prosecutors don't take cases unless, and they shouldn't, unless they can prove by circumstantial evidence or otherwise that this individual knew what they were doing and intentionally kept or retained highly classified documents.
And Scott, you mentioned that third bucket, an AOL email account. Historically, can you be prosecuted if someone hacks your account, or is it prosecutable just if you had something deemed classified, top secret or otherwise, in what the government regards as a less than secure email place?
I think the answer, Major, is that yes, you could be prosecuted. It just depends, again, on what proof there is of your knowledge that, say, you were using an unsecure website. So if you're the national security advisor, you bring home highly classified, top secret documents, or that you use them or refer to information in them on an unsecure website, you're subject to being indicted. But again, it all depends on the facts. But every government official is schooled on how this works. And when you're dealing with the highest classified documents, you have no business putting them on or putting information contained in them on an insecure website such as AOL.com.
Scott Fredericksen, thank you so very much. On the fly, giving us excellent context, legal analysis. Nicole, I want to turn to you. The pages I heard as my back was turned to you somewhat rudely. I apologize for that.
We have been reading vigorously over here, Major, and I do want to share what I think are some of the key passages in this indictment. We are learning that between April of 2018 and August of 2025, Bolton, according to this court document, abused his position as National Security Advisor. It alleges he shared more than 1,000 pages of information about his day-to-day activities as National Security Advisor, including information that was classified up to top secret SCI level with 2 unauthorized individuals. They're named individuals 1 and 2. We don't know exactly who these individuals are. He also unlawfully, according to the indictment, is accused of retaining documents, writings, and notes relating to the national defense of the country up until top secret SCI level at his home in Maryland. Interestingly enough, while he was serving as National Security Advisor between April 2018 and September of 2019, he's sent these diary-like entries on almost a daily basis. He used a personal non-government email, such as emails hosted by AOL and Google, the indictment says, to email information classified up to top secret level. At no point did he have the authorization to store or transmit the classified information that he sent to these 2 individuals, or even to store them. And then this is interesting. This is what we touched on earlier, Major. At some point in September 2019, between September 2019 and July 2021, a cyber actor believed to be associated with Iran hacked that personal email account and gained unauthorized access to that account, which Bolton had previously used to email these 2 unauthorized individuals. A representative for Bolton notified the U.S. government in July of 2021, but did not tell the U.S. government he had classified information. So that seems to be when the U.S. government was first tipped off to a potential breach, frankly, of this personal email account that was later found to have.
And that is information outside of his time as National Security Advisor. So these things are then, and they are later than that. Nicole Sganga, reading on the fly, translating beautifully. That's not easy to do. I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.